Welcome to the Joy Work Show, the podcast that goes beyond the surface of business, right to the heart, to explore the real joy and the stories behind success. Not just the moments of celebration, but the challenges that pave the way for them. Hiya, I'm Diane, and on this podcast we know that joy isn't just about the good times. Often the greatest joy comes right after the greatest challenge. If you caught last week's episode, you'll know that we talked about patience, why it's crucial in business, and why, if we're honest, it's also really, really freaking hard. But the thing is, patience without consistency is just waiting around and hoping for the best. So I wanted to give the other side of the coin, or perhaps the best partner in crime, consistency, a little bit of chat today. Because let's face it, waiting around and hoping for the best, it's not a strategy. It's a slow spiral into frustration, and that's only going to add to your struggle with patience. Because if patience is trust in the process, consistency is showing up for it. And most of us struggle with the idea of consistency. It's a conversation I see time and time again of what consistency it is and what it is to everybody. We start strong, we get busy, we get discouraged, and then suddenly consistency flies out of the window. So how do you actually stay consistent when you're tired, unmotivated, or not seeing results? So that's what we're going to chat a little bit about today. So let's go. So why consistency matters more than motivation? If you're relying on motivation, you're in big trouble. I used to believe that I'd stay consistent if I just felt inspired enough. But inspiration is unreliable because we're not going to be inspired every single day. Some days you're fired up and you're ready to conquer the world. And those are the days that are super easy to be consistent. Those are the days that you'll be able to show up, go live, talk on stories, turn up to the networking event, do the things that you know you need to do within your business. But other days, you'd rather binge Netflix, sit on the sofa and eat snacks. But the most important thing is that consistency is what separates the stressful from the stuck. Consistency and discipline is the person who wakes up and goes, I really want to sit on the sofa, watch Netflix and eat snacks. But actually, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to show up in my business and do all the things that I need to do. The things that just yesterday felt so great because I was motivated yesterday to do those things. Today I am not. So I need to dig deep into my consistency and my discipline to do that. The person who posts content once a week for a year will beat the one who posts daily for a month and then vanishes. The business owner who nurtures relationships regularly will get more opportunities than the one who networks in frantic bursts and then disappears. The brand that keeps showing up, even when no one is clapping, will eventually build the audience, the reputation, and the sales. Success isn't built on bursts of effort. It's built on boring, unsexy, relentless consistency. I think when I first launched my business and started talking about consistency with my clients, I used the word Groundhog Day. And I could see people's eyes glazing over and I could see people saying, what was she going on about? But everything I've been taught about business is about that consistency. And quite often with friends, when they saw the money that I was making, the lifestyle that I could have within my career, and they used to say things like, it must be so exciting. It must be so great to earn that money. It must be so great to do all those things. It must be different every day. And it never was. It was Groundhog Day. It was figures at the same time. It was doing the same thing at 11 o'clock every single day. It was looking at the areas of the business that needed to be looked at. It was finding the gaps. But the only way to find those gaps was to have consistency to make sure that you never missed anything. And that is what business is. And if you struggle with sales and marketing, that's what sales and marketing is. Doing the same things at the same time every single day, knowing what works and repeating it over and over again. The common consistency killers, let's think about it. The real reasons we struggle with consistency are that we're often waiting for the right time. But the perfect time doesn't exist. Life will always be busy. The universe will keep throwing her curveballs. There will always be something demanding your attention. If you wait for the right time, you'll wait forever. So decide when and where you'll show up and then commit. Even when it's messy, even when you thought, I'm only going to do it from my office so I know exactly what's going to be behind me, but a day you get caught in the car. So stop in the car and show up to the thing that you said you were going to show up to, because let's face it, if we're online in the online world, that's what we can do. Show up even when it's messy. Perfectionism is something that you need to ditch. Perfectionism whispers, if it's not perfect, don't do it at all. And guess what? That's how you end up doing nothing. That's when you get stuck doing nothing, because the perfect time is never going to come. Give yourself permission to be imperfect. Give yourself permission to be you. Give yourself permission to turn up when it's messy, because done is better than perfect. Every time I have launched something, not what I thought, not quite ready, one, it was ready, and two, it did so much better because it was done. Because I had that energy behind it. I had the consistency. And guess what that consistency gave me? The motivation to keep showing up. Boredom or lack of immediate results. As I started this podcast, I spoke about having patience. And the lack of immediate results is what keeps people going towards those shiny objects, or the promise that this is the next thing that's going to solve all of your problems overnight. As humans, we love starting things. The thrill of something new is exciting. Telling people your new idea is so much better than building the idea. But when progress feels slow, when we start actually putting the thing into practice, our brain starts whispering to us, maybe this isn't working. Maybe I should switch things up. Maybe I should be doing something different. So then what happens is you don't build trust between any of your offers, any of your products, and any of the things that you're putting out there. But you need to trust the process. You need to build the offer that you really believe in, and you need to have the patience and the consistency to keep moving on that and stick with it. Focus on the process, not just the outcome. Small, consistent actions lead to big results over time. It's the compound effect. You need to keep doing the same small, consistent actions to make sure your audience finds you, to make sure that they stay with you, to make sure that they build trust, and then to make sure that they know what you're selling so they can buy. But they won't have any of that if they don't build the trust that you are consistently showing up. If you overcommit in what you can actually do, that is not consistency. People believe when they say, right, I'm going to be consistent when I'm within my business. I'm going all in. I'm posting daily. I'm going to work out for hours. I'm doing all of the things. And then guess what? We burn out. We get exhausted. We get bored. You need to start small. And if you say to yourself, right, I want to be consistent on Instagram, but I think I can only post once a week and maybe do one story a day. If that's what you think you can do consistently, that's where you start. Start smaller than you think you need to. Because then what will happen is, if you can post once a week and show up on stories once a day, you'll be like, oh, I've nailed that. So I can now post twice a week and maybe go live once. And then you build that consistency. Consistency isn't about intensity, it's about sustainability. And that is why consistency looks different to everybody, because what each person sustains has got too many variables. It's about our energy, it's about our life, it's about our health, it's about the way our business model is set up. You have to think about what consistency looks like for you. So how do you build unstoppable consistency? How do you get better at consistency? Well, here are a few things that work. Build systems, not just willpower. Willpower will run out. We all know that. We've all done a diet at New Year. We've all tried to give something up. We know that willpower will run out, but systems don't. So if you want to post regularly, batch content in advance, but don't think it's a one and done. Then once you've done it once and batched it in advance, set enough time for you to do the next. So say you batch in advance for 2 weeks. Within that 2-week window, you need to set aside time to batch the next 2 weeks. Set up a system that works for you. Want to follow up with leads? Automate your reminders. I have a reminder in my phone every single day that tells me between 9:30 and 10, I need to follow up with my leads. It tells me exactly what I should be doing at that time of day. And it reminds me that I need to be building those relationships with my leads. You want to stay on track? Have accountability. Because left to your own devices, we'll always find an excuse or we'll always get busy. But if we have somebody or something that we are held accountable to, that we have to check in with or has to check in with us, we are more likely to follow through on the things that we do. Make sure you have that accountability built in. Stack new habits onto existing ones. Instead of trying to force a new habit out of nowhere, because ultimately you think you don't have time for a new habit, attach it to something you already do. If you're making your morning coffee, write your daily social post, if you're not a batcher, when you're drinking that coffee. Or perhaps after making your morning coffee is when you review your to-do list. I do my daily to-do list the night before because it's a good way of finishing off my day. I celebrate the things that I have done in that day so that I can see the things that I have done and what I have not done. And anything that was important in that day that didn't get done gets wrote down for the following day. So I know what my next day looks like and what my expectations is. But I'll quite often make my hot drink and review it and make sure that's still where I stand, make sure that I've still made sure what is important within my business on that day. If there's, before you close your laptop for the day, send one follow-up email. Do an email that you've been putting off or a job that you've been putting off. Part of my strategy for social media is to make sure that I am more social. So before I finish for the end of the day, that set a 10-minute timer and I'll look at all my socials and see if there's anything that I can comment on or a comment I need to reply to or something that I can start having a conversation with somebody, because selling and marketing and social media is social and building relationships. We need to be making sure of those times, but we need to schedule in the consistency of it. It's easier to add to an existing routine than to create a brand new one from scratch. Don't create yourself more work. Track your progress, even the small wins. We think we're not making progress because we don't see it. That's why tracking your figures, tracking the data within your business is important, but tracking your small wins is key. Like I said, at the end of the day, I look at my to-do list and I write the things that I have done. What are the top 3 things that I've done today that have moved the business forward? And what are the top 3 things that need to move into tomorrow to make sure I keep up that momentum? It keeps you motivated. It keeps you motivated to keep going. You need to set your non-negotiables. Decide on what your bare minimum is. Not everything has to be all or nothing, but you'll know what your bare minimum is. If it is a social media strategy that you're trying to input, if it is showing up on Instagram, your bare minimum would be to have that social media post once a week. You could have 4 weeks worth scheduled in an hour, tops. But decide what that bare minimum is, and that is the thing to stay consistent with. Then once you've built the consistency, you can up level. You can move the bar. You can set a new bare minimum, but hit your bare minimum first. If you're too tired to post on social media, share a quick story instead of a full post. If you can't do an hour-long workout, stretch for 10 minutes. If you're feeling overwhelmed, do one small thing instead of quitting completely. Think about where that bare minimum bar lies. And you need to commit to the long game. Success isn't about what you do once in a while. It's what you do over and over and over. Even when it's boring, even when no one is watching, even when nobody is clapping back, even when you don't feel like it. So if you've been struggling with consistency, here's your reminder. You don't need more motivation. You need discipline, consistency. You need more systems, better habits, and more commitment to showing up even when it's hard. Ask yourself today, where am I making consistency harder than it needs to be? And generally, it's that big stick that we all hit ourselves with. It's not a good place to sit when you're trying to build momentum and consistency. And then pick one thing from this episode that I have said and put it into action. And if you're ready to get strategic about your business and incremental small steps, make sure to check out the 21-day strategy sprint, because strategy without consistency won't get you anywhere. The link is in the show notes. Let's build something that lasts for your consistency. If you've enjoyed this episode, I'd love you to like, share, and follow us to never miss a future episode and help us grow and find more business owners who are wanting to grow their business with joy. All right, go be consistent. Find the joy and pleasure in consistency. You know what you need to do when you wake up when you're consistent. But until then, I'll see you next time, probably with one of our wonderful guests. Go find the joy.